Going into the first ever online-only CES, expectations were high for this consumer-focused event that we would see some exciting announcements to get 2021 off to a good start. Probably because tech companies are seeing unprecedented demand for their products. They didn't really seem to be interested in announcing new exciting things, and we enthusiasts were left without much to look forward to. But there are still a few things worth looking into. Let's take a look at Intel, Nvidia and AMD's presentations and see if we can get a sense of what this year will look like for each. This video is sponsored by UCDkeys.com. UCD Keys are partnering with Cortex to bring you Windows 10 keys that work globally for just over $16, and you can get them discounted further by 20% by using the discount code C20. You can also get Office keys, which also work globally. I've been using these keys myself and they work without any issues and get delivered to you quickly. Check out the links in the description and don't forget to use the discount code C20 for 20% off of your purchase at ucdkeys.com. Starting with Intel, the question that was again on everyone's mind was 10 nanometers when? And guess what? 5 years on and 14 nanometer is still the best that Intel has for enthusiasts, while the rest of the industry is now on its way to 5 nanometer. Intel is promising to bring 10 nanometer Alder Lake chips to market later this year, but when was the last time that Intel delivered on its promises? Tired of Intel continuously falling short of expectations, the board of directors seems to have finally come to the same conclusion that everyone else had come to for quite some time now, that Bob Swan was not the right man to lead Intel forward. Despite being an accomplished bean counter type of CEO with very decent financial results, under Swan's tenure, Intel has completely lost the train of innovation to their competitors and lost key customers like Apple. Nothing personal against Bob Swan, but I'm happy to see him stepping down. Hopefully the incoming CEO, Pat Gelsinger, who just a few weeks ago was having an animated discussion with Jensen Huang regarding VMware's collaboration with Nvidia, will bring some life back into Intel. So for now, we enthusiasts have the brand new 11900K and Rocket Lake family. So this is still 14 nanometer, but it's a backport of Cypress Cove, and it includes integrated XC graphics redesigned for 14 nanometer. Intel are claiming an IPC increase of 19% and a boost frequency of 5.3 GHz. Because these cores are larger than the Skylake cores, this time we're getting only 8 cores instead of 10 cores on the 10900K. Personally, I don't think we are in desperate need of more single-threaded performance to the point where sacrificing 2 cores makes any sense, but it's also true that 8 cores is still plenty for most people, especially if gaming is your main focus. But the worst thing about the 11900K is that it's clearly just another filler product because of the never-ending delays to 10 nanometer, and I don't really see a reason to buy an 11900K over a 10900K or a Ryzen equivalent. We'll have to see what the rest of the lineup looks like, particularly the high-end i7s, as perhaps there's something that are worth considering for gamers at least, especially as Intel has the volume capacity to actually have CPUs on shelves, something that AMD can't seem to be able to do right now. But my gut feeling on this is that if you really want an Intel CPU, then you should just wait for Alder Lake later this year or just get a 10th gen i7. There were a few other things announced, obviously a lot of laptops, but it all seemed very iterative, nothing particularly exciting. So what will 2021 look like for Intel? I think Intel will still retain their key advantage over its competitors, and that's Intel's ability to work with OEMs and help them optimize their products. And this is particularly important when it comes to things like laptops. So I don't see Intel losing their dominant position in PC mobile devices. As for the fab situation, a lot has been said about Intel potentially going fabless, and I guess it's up in the air if that will be the case given the change in leadership, but I honestly doubt that they will ever go completely fabless, even with 10 nanometer being the mess that it is. Having their own fabs means that Intel can ramp up production to meet demand, as they're not subject to a bidding war for fab allocation if they went with TSMC, and having their own fabs also means that they can secure very profitable orders from the US government that can be guaranteed guaranteed to be made on US soil. It's also important to note that Pat Gelsinger comes from a very hyperscale and cloud-focused company, so it will be interesting to see how he manages the PC-centric business at Intel. Hopefully he won't be putting all of the chips into server products and give up on the consumer-focused stuff. Now moving on to AMD, I can't remember a presentation from Team Red that was as boring and pointless than this year's CES, with gross amounts of patting on the back by AMD and their partners, a lack of significant announcements beyond predictable mobile parts, and worst of all, a complete disregard for the target audience of CES, consumers. This is not a data center event, it's not a PR event for OEMs, it's the Consumer Electronics Show. It's a consumer-focused event where companies have an opportunity to announce new and exciting products for consumers. What really boggles the mind is that if you go around and ask your normie friends if they know who Intel or Nvidia are, they are probably going to say yes. But ask around your normie friends who AMD are and no one knows. And yet here is AMD at the Consumer Electronics Show interviewing executives from their partner companies, congratulating themselves on a job well done in sending computers to some university as if anyone cares, and then proceeding to announce almost no products of relevance, showing a complete lack of respect for who watches CES presentations, consumers. To be fair, AMD did launch a ton of products at the end of last year, so it stands to reason that they need time to fill those channels. But if that's the case, then next time just cut the presentation short. Everything of actual use that was shown this year could have fit into a 10-minute video. Anyway, of the sparse AMD announcements, there were the Cezanne mobile chips, so that's the Zen 3-based processors that will be powering new laptops this year, a new set of Pro Threadripper chips, and we got a quick glimpse of Navi 22. So that's the 6700 and 6700 XT. Of the Cezanne chips, the 5900HS with 8 cores and SMT at 4.6 GHz at only 35 watts seems like the most interesting of the bunch to me, with the 15-watt 5600U looking like it will be a great option in budget low-power laptops. The standout products for me are the Asus Zephyrus Duo 15 SE dual-screen laptop, as I have a soft spot for silly tech things like this that no one needs but that look cool, and I like the short look we got of mobile RDNA 2, which AMD promises will be coming in the first half of 2021, with a demo shown of Dirt 5 running at over 60 FPS ultra-high settings at 1440p. I'm guessing these will be announced at Computex in the summer, so if you don't need a laptop right now, you might as well just wait until then. CEO Lisa Su said that new RDNA 2 desktop GPUs will also be coming in the first half of 2021, and I can tell you that Navi 22 is already with partners being tested and will be arriving around the same time as the Nvidia 3060. I have a lot more details on that, but I'll save them for another time. One interesting tidbit of information was given by AMD CEO Lisa Su in a roundtable with journalists, where she stated that AMD will be adding AI capabilities to their GPUs and CPUs with RDNA 3, Zen 4 and 5. So this means we should see an increased focus in domain-specific accelerators in their future products, integrated into their chips, much like what we are seeing with chips like Apple's M1. Speaking of the M1, although AMD didn't comment specifically on ARM-based AMD chips, I get the feeling that it's only a matter of time until AMD announces an ARM-based design. It's just a matter of finding the right partner to do so with. I don't think AMD will launch their own designs for direct consumer use anytime soon, but if Microsoft decides to release ARM-based high-performance PCs, for instance, I could see them going with AMD for a custom solution, much like they did with the Xbox consoles. Unlike Intel, you have to look at AMD not as an x86 company, but as sort of a blacksmith that takes orders and is fine working with iron or steel or whatever material is needed to get the desired results. They're not married to x86, it's all about what makes sense for their partnerships. Regarding AMD inventory, it seems there will be a focus on getting parts to OEMs first, and I don't expect Q1 of this year to have any more inventory for us than what we saw at the end of 2020. So if you are looking to build a PC, you might want to consider going with an OEM one from Lenovo or Acer or something like that. The new 5800 Non-X looks like it can be pushed to perform like the 5800X, so if the OEM system you get comes with a good power supply, overclocking should get you good results. So I think AMD will have a decent year all around, and I think most of of their announcements will be very iterative. The exceptions will be an MCM-based Arcturus GPU for the data center, and some sort of early partnership with Xilinx for AI acceleration would also be predictable. Everything else should be in line with AMD's cadence in the last couple of years. I've saved the best for last as we come to Nvidia, who introduced probably the most exciting product for us enthusiasts, the RTX 3060 with 12GB of VRAM and at a very compelling MSRP of $329. Nvidia claims this is twice as fast in raster performance as the GTX 1060, which makes it basically a 1080 Ti but with RTX features. I got word from a few retailers on pricing at launch for the AIB models, so there's the Zotac at $339, the Asus Strix at $369, and the MSI Trio will be $349. There will also be a tough version from Asus, which should be close to MSRP. Regarding stock, Nvidia's CTO had this to say: "We expect the overall channel inventories, meaning the inventories that are with our AIC partners, as well as with our e-tail and retail channels, will likely remain lean throughout Q1. According to my own sources, the 3060 6GB and the 3080 Ti have been cancelled, and instead we will see the 3080 Super with 12GB of GDDR6X coming soon." Of the laptops announced, the Asus G15, which will come with an RTX 3070, looks to be the most interesting of the bunch to me, especially as it will be paired with the new Ryzen 5000 mobile chips. Outside of the enthusiast space, there was one Nvidia announcement that I think flew a bit under the radar and that I think could be huge, and that is Chinese car manufacturer NIO having chosen Nvidia to power their Tesla killer sedan, the ET7, which will begin production next year. It's interesting that while Nvidia will provide their Orin processors, the driving algorithms, so the software, will actually be developed in-house by NIO. If there's one thing we know about China is that it has a lot of people, most of which are getting improved buying power, and that it's the world's largest car market by far, and Nvidia will be powering their local Tesla, so to speak. Sounds like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for Nvidia to recover from the embarrassment of being dropped by Tesla in favor of in-house chips. And this could be a huge cash cow for Team Green in the coming decade. For 2021, I expect Nvidia to have another year of solid growth, and I think we will see new exciting products announced for us PC enthusiasts. And it wouldn't surprise me if we saw yet another generation of gaming-focused GPUs to be announced later in the year, given how AMD has now reached parity in terms of performance. Nvidia still has better features and better drivers, but with developers now targeting RDNA as their main platform to develop for, I think Nvidia will have to start taking their competition a lot more seriously if they want to remain on top, and that means releasing faster GPUs more often. Sounds good to me. So who won CES 2021? As far as I'm concerned, the real winner was none of the big three semis, but rather LG, with the announcement of a 42-inch OLED panel. But if I had to choose between AMD, Nvidia and Intel, AMD seems to be scrambling to deal with their growth pains. Intel has become that laptop company, and Nvidia had the only real exciting product announced, the RTX 3060. And I think that the 3060 will be a killer product once inventory issues are resolved. And finally, an answer on the PC market to compete with the value proposition of the new consoles. So I'd say Nvidia got this one. Here's to a great 2021. Speaking of Nvidia, I've repeatedly asked them for review samples, but seeing as I always get ignored, it sounds like I'm on their naughty list. So if you'd like to see a review from me on the 3060, make sure to support my work by joining my awesome patrons who keep this channel going at patreon.com/Cortex. By supporting me, you also get exclusive access to the Cortex Discord server, where you can chat with myself and with a group of welcoming enthusiasts and gamers. Make sure you are subscribed, as there will be a new video dropping soon. Thanks for watching, and until the next one.